Hi there, I'm Trisha Clayson, and I'm really happy to be able to join you for your Girlfriends Read book club, even though it's a virtual format. I got a list of questions that am happy to answer. So the first question had to deal with why Andy is strong. And I love that you're focusing on the strength of girl characters in different ways people can be strong. So Andy is not necessarily physically strong. We don't really know. It's not part of how she's defined or referenced in the story, but what she is pretty resilient. I think she shows some creativity in how she approaches a very real problem. She's strong in that even though she's dealing with all of these issues, she doesn't ask for help. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a good thing, but it's a form of trying to be strong. Sometimes we put out a strength vibe to other people, and that's what she's trying to do, is to hide it, but also to appear like she's handling everything okay. And really, as messed up as it is, she's dealing. She is okay fundamentally. It's better later, but she's okay. The next question that I was asked was about smells of my loved ones. And it's kind of funny because the more I thought about it, the more I realized that most of the smells I associate with my loved ones aren't necessarily good smells, and they're not my favorite smells. So for example, when I was growing up, my mom was a very, very heavy smoker. She doesn't smoke anymore, but back then, people smoked in cars, they smoked in their houses, and it was a long time before she quit smoking. So we would go to her house and she would have sprayed some kind of perfume, like especially sweet pea, on top of the smoke, and it was intense and powerful and not really pleasant. But I still associate that smell with my mom. If I catch a whiff of it, it's a twinge of ugh and oh at the same time. So that's one that I remember. I think those highlight really also like a diner, because we grew up in a restaurant. My parents owned a restaurant. When I walk into a diner, there's something about that toast, grease, gravy combination that definitely feels like home to me no matter what. A third question was, do I believe in ghosts? No, I actually don't. And I don't really know how I came up with this story. I mentioned this in lots of places, that I write really fast. I tend to do, when I write, I'll do it all in like a month. Every day, write, get it done, get it on paper. And so ideas just flow without much pre-thought. And I let the ideas just guide me. And I don't really remember how I came up with the idea. It was just a brainstorm moment of what might a kid do to try to get her family on board, and there it was. So no, I don't really believe in ghosts. I think the idea of them is kind of interesting, maybe spiritual, maybe an energy around, but I don't think there's anything out there haunting me or anybody really. Middle school interactions, tough friends, sure. I think everybody does a little bit. I would say though that I was in a real transitional time in middle school. I developed a whole new set of friends. And I think what I would characterize is often feeling a little bit like the third wheel. Like I had friends, but they were friends first. It was definitely a time when my self-esteem was probably at its lowest. And I learned a lot. I think kind of like Andy, you learn a lot of resilience from any time you deal with friend drama and that evolution of friendships. You learn that you can trust yourself. Hopefully you learn that true friendship doesn't come and go. And I think you learn to be yourself more, that you shouldn't have to change yourself in order to be a good friend. My favorite character is Isaiah. And I think he's my favorite character because he is the most 100% totally original character in the whole book. I don't know where he comes from. I created him out of thin air, and it just makes me so excited. I just think he's really cool. He's so himself all throughout, and for that reason, I would also say the next question, what is my favorite scene, is really in the second chapter when Andy is meeting up with Isaiah in class for the first time, and she realizes there's this kid who nobody likes, who could possibly understand her better than anybody else, that he's willing to ask questions nobody else asks, that he sees her in a way that nobody else sees her, and how easy it would be for Andy to miss those cues, how easy it would be for him to give up on Andy, and neither of them do, and how sometimes friendship is that way, that we just we fall into a friendship we don't expect to fall into. So that's my favorite scene, and that's my favorite character for sure. I also came across a Humans of New York post right before the book was going to be published, and there's this kid, and sometime you can go searching for it. I can't even remember his name, but he's in a picture. He's got an afro, he's got a scarf, he's dressed in a suit, and he's got his guinea pig, and he is Isaiah. So that's another reason I love him, is I sort of happened across this kid who is Isaiah, but it was long after Isaiah had been created in my mind. And then the last question is, what would I want people to remember about my book? Oh, gosh. Well, I really think that Mom had a lot of great messages in there about just how to live well and what to remember about people. But I think ultimately what I'd want you to remember is how important your relationships are, how each moment can impact you. You're going to forget those moments. You're going to move on from them, but they're still out there. So maybe being a little bit more present in your interactions with people, maybe making sure you're thinking about the effect that you have on others, as well as how others have on you, and being able to express that more consistently. Because if Andy had been able to explain that to her sister or her dad sooner, there could have been a lot of issues avoided. I am so excited that you were all willing to read my book. It's been a real journey for me to be able to share these ideas that come out of nowhere with other people, and I would be happy to talk with anybody. Feel free to shoot me an email or send me a message on Facebook, wherever, and I'd be happy to talk to you more about it. Thanks.